Welcome back as the Fox Texas Trio unpacks our conversation with highly influential Republican State Senator Paul Bettencourt. Now let's start with the chaos of November 8th in our state's most populous county. From your vantage point in Austin, Rudy, what do you make of the latest debacle?
Well, Greg, honestly, it comes as no surprise to me when Hope Andrade was Secretary of State. More than 10 years ago, alarms and warnings were going off all over the place here in Austin about the constant late returns and election mismanagement problems in Harris County. The question now, is that mismanagement problem in Harris County incompetence or intentional? It's going to be interesting to see what the investigation order by the governor will determine. I think it will be a case of known incompetence that local political activists exploit. It may not be illegal, but man, the optics sure are bad, especially when you have one side claiming voter fraud and the other side claiming voter suppression. Greg?
Yeah, Stephen, as Rudy just mentioned, Harris County's Democratic District Attorney Kim Ogg has opened a criminal investigation and joined Governor Greg Abbott in asking that the Texas Rangers lead the probe. What's your take watching from Dallas County, which had none of these issues?
Well, I think from the outset, of course, there is something that is clearly going wrong in Harris County, and it's a consistent going wrong issue. And so while some Republicans may be using this as an opportunity to harp on it, to make it look like they're doing something to ensure that election security or election just management is done well, that happens to be in a large Democrat county, they're doing that. But it is interesting to see that in populated Dallas County, Tarrant County, Collin County, Denton County, we're not having these issues. Dallas County has a new elections administrator that's making changes. Tarrant County has an elections administrator who's received death threats following the 2020 election, but somehow they're still doing everything smooth sailing. So it's an issue in Harris County, and hopefully they get to the bottom of it, because there's going to be way more voters in 2 years at the polls.
Okay, turning
Hey, Greg,
to,
let me jump in on that. Before we move on, let me jump in on that. One of the things I think the reason why the senator and the Republicans are saying this is that I heard on Election Day is when all the Republicans were told to come out. Don't do early voting because there's something wrong with early voting. Come out on Election Day. And that's why this is a big deal, and the big push that we're also going to be hearing from folks saying no more early voting, scale back early voting. It needs to be one day of voting. So this all goes into that, I think.
Okay, we're going to turn to property tax relief in the state's $27 billion surplus. Bettencourt made no pledge near as concrete as what Governor Abbott was promising on the campaign trail. Rudy, could this be an indication that there's no done deal here on the size or form of relief?
Yeah, I don't think that there's a done deal now, but in the end, I think senior party leaders aligned with the governor and lieutenant governor will eventually draw up another backroom tax cut deal formula. It will be similar to all the other property tax reductions that we've seen before that are quickly undone by county property tax assessors. Think of this, the latest spike in the home prices from this past summer have not fully yet been calculated, and when that's done, man, people are going to go through the roof. Williamson County Judge Bill Gravel, a Republican, told me just a few days ago he's worried middle-class residents there are being taxed out of their homes and out of the county. And he says it's not right. And I think he is right. Simply put, people are currently being taxed on a fictitious number, speculation that if you sell your home, maybe you'll get that big dollar payout, and that's what you're being taxed on. Now, granted, there are a few exemptions and all that, but the system now, in my opinion, is a cash cow that local officials addicted to, refuse to give up. Judge Gravel says he plans to come to the Capitol in this upcoming session, push for legislation to reform the appraisal districts. But it's going to take a big grassroots effort, Greg, I think.
Okay, quickly, Stephen, $27 billion is a lot of money. House Speaker Dade Phelan was in Houston this week and described the surplus as mostly inflation-driven sales tax. He appeared to favor investing much of the windfall in the state's increasingly decrepit infrastructure instead of a one-time property tax cut. Could that be a message to Abbott and the Texas Senate?
Look, that's why I said lip service, because a lot of people are just making promises or saying things. Governor Greg Abbott says we want to give the money back to Texans, right? But as Rudy mentioned, okay, if the counties are going to basically just offset it, the money's not really coming back to Texans. You got Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who has floated the idea of giving a gas tax holiday. I asked Governor Abbott about that. He said his traditional answer of everything's on the table. We're going to look at it. And so it's a lot of money. It's a large pot. And let's not forget, more than $1 billion already spent on Operation Lone Star. That's going to keep going. That money runs out in January. So a lot of people are going to be pulling at this money. It is a lot of money, but we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, let's leave it there. To see this interview and others, go to our Fox Station's YouTube pages.
And keep the conversation going with us by interacting with us on social media sites like Twitter.
And next week, the issue is another emerging legislative debate, expanding the marijuana compassionate use law to include chronic pain at a time when President Biden has jumped on the decriminalization wagon. We'll see you then, and let us know what you think the issue is.